This week, Rob and I built couch caddies.
What's that?
The things we just built.
That makes sense.
It is obviously time for a make or break.
So this one was going to be pretty simple. We take 3 pieces of wood, one as wide as the arm on our couch, and glue them together. Pretty simple, right? Well, first off, my wife wanted an extra little shelf so we could put more stuff on it, which is fine. Plus, Jen and Sarah each wanted a different style and finish, so we grabbed some scrap wood and got cutting. Sarah's was up first. She wanted mitered joints, so we cut a 45-degree edge on each one. We also made sure to maintain the grain so it would continue all the way around the caddy. To glue these up, we used painter's tape. Once applied, we flipped it over, gave it a good sanding, we filled the joint with glue, folded it together, and secured it with some brad nails. We also used these awesome square braces that my brother Jeff 3D printed for us, which held the pieces square while the glue set. Thanks, Jeff. We need more clamps, but doesn't everyone? While that dried, I moved on to mine. Our caddy would use butt joints, so I just had to make a few straight cuts. To make our tiny extended shelf, I needed to rip a piece down to 4 inches, and I'll be honest, I only used my cross sled because it was already on the saw. If you're gonna rip something, take your sled off and use the fence. For my last piece, I did just that. Next, I put all my pieces together to make sure it all fit, and then it was time to glue and nail it together. Finally, I filled the holes left by the brad nails and let that dry. Now the next day we sanded away any glue. You can see a bit of tear out on those miters. We're gonna get some new Hart finishing blades soon, and that would do a great job of fixing that, but it won't be noticeable in this case. Before we applied our finish, I used a round over bit on the edges of mine where arms would eventually lie. At this point, I realized a gap had appeared overnight. I didn't have it clamped well enough, because I'm short on clamps. No worries, I just used some more wood filler and gave it a chance to dry. Finally, we started the finishing process. Sarah wanted to use a walnut stain, which really brought out the grain. We used a rag to lay it on pretty heavy, and then used a fresh rag to wipe off the excess. Now you're supposed to apply across grain and then wipe off along the grain, but I forgot. Still looks good, and I'll do it right next time. For mine, my wife wanted me to use the smoke gray stain that she found for our framed shelves project from last week. Once again, we put it on heavy and then wiped it off. Boy, did these both turn out pretty. After they dried and off camera, I applied a couple layers of lacquer to make sure they'd stand up to drinks. And that was it. Sarah took hers home, where it fit perfectly on the end of her couch. And mine went upstairs, where I finally had a place to hold my drinks. And while I try not to be political and make or break, Bartlett for America.
I'm gonna be honest, I had no idea a couch caddy was something I needed.
It's absolutely amazing.
It really is. The only problem, the one that we built only fits on the arm on the couch where I sit every day.
How is keeping your seat going?
Calling dibs in my family has definitely become a thing. We want to thank Hart for sponsoring this episode and reminding us that we can build anything we imagine if we do it with Hart. All right, break's over.
Let's make something.